All right, so recording on. We'll keep the personal stuff for after the recording. So we are on chapter 80, verse 11. So let's begin. Let me share the screen. Or if you guys want, you can also pull up on your apps or your own books, but I'm going to be sharing the screen as usual. And then we are using this website, QuranHype.com, for the basic reading so that you can also see the word by word meaning. And then we have Tafsir Sa'di for reference, which is here. Oh, okay. So let me go into that. So I search for 80 colon 11. That should take me there. Here it is. All right. Okay, let's begin. So, right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفره. Oh, to see here, where do we stop? Okay, so this stops at okay, I'll go here. من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا فأنبتنا فيها حبا وعنبا وقضبا وزيتونا ونخلا وحدائق غلبا وفاكهة وأبا متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم. All right, so let's do the round the table thing for translation from here.
Nay, verily this is an abomination. Omission.
So let him who will pay heed to it.
Inscribed in honored.
Exalted and pure.
Born in the hands of the angelic missionaries.
Is it on me? I didn't hear that last part.
Okay, say again.
Born in the hands of the angelic emissaries.
Perish such a man, how ungrateful he is.
From what did Allah create him?
So it's Justin and then Tristan and then Barry. That's the order basically, right?
Yes, it's Tristan again now.
Oh, sorry. From a drop of semen he was created him and then fashioned him in due proportion.
And Barry.
Sorry. He makes the way easy for him.
Then he causes him to die and be buried.
Then when he rose, he will resurrect him.
Sorry, one sec.
Are
Yet
you
he
multitasking?
does. No, it's just my mute. Yet he does not fulfill God's commands.
Let man consider the food he eats.
We send down rain in abundance.
And cause the soil to split open.
And cause to grow therein.
And grapevines and fresh fodder.
Olive trees, date palms.
And gardens dense with lofty trees.
And fruits and grass.
All for you and your livestock to enjoy.
Great, Jazakallah khair. All right, so basically now this is an here, right? So basically let's start with the first few, okay? And what do you think this is talking about? Right, so the first 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is talking about this is an admonition, right? So what do you think this may be referring to?
I don't know.
What exactly is an admonition?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So a warning, right? Okay, actually, let's use that. So let's see what the other, maybe we should use that as a translation. So if we go here, so you'll see that, okay, so see, actually, this is good, right? So no, indeed this, and they put in bracket that this is referring to Quran is a lesson, okay? Remove default translation. So I think, can we select translation? 1 second, actually, let me fix that. So it will be helpful for us. Ding. Select translation. Sahih International. Oh, you have clear Quran. Okay. Good. Okay, select 2. All right. So we're gonna select both of these. So that will be useful for us forever. Inshallah. Save it. Now go back to home. AT11. Okay, good. Oh, we have. Where did that come from? 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'll just go back here. This is it. So then, okay. All right. So, where were we? 80, 24 something?
I believe we're 80-12.
Okay, let's go there. All right. All right. Okay. So this is pointing to this admonition or the lesson or warning is pointing to Quran. Okay. And if you go here, Wednesday. All right. So the 12 is basically let him who will pay heed to it. Okay. So now basically Allah is saying that this Quran that we are reading, that Allah sent down, is a warning, is a lesson, is a guide. Now it's a choice, right? This is not something that Allah has made compulsory from a perspective of force on people. Those who want, they can take it as guide, they can remember it, they can reflect on it, and they can act upon it. And those who don't want it, they have that choice. And then obviously there are consequences for that choice as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the next verses are actually talking about the Quran itself, right? So as Allah says that, these are written on honored, right? So the pages that it has been transcribed on or written on, these are honored pages, right? As you can see in a different translation, it talks about the original writing. So the originally Quran was written and is preserved in a sacred tablet that is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the high up above the heavens. So that's not something we're talking about the books that we have in our hand, but that's where it came down from. Okay. and this is in Arabic, it's called al-lawh al-mahfuz, the preserved tablet. Okay, and that tablet has also written down all the life events and different destinations that will be happening, and things and events that will be happening in the world as well. And then Allah described that these are raised, exalted, and pure pages in the hands of the angels, scribes, who are noble and virtuous. Okay, so that describes the quality, the sacredness, the sacred nature of the book. Any thoughts on that or comments on that? So the key takeaway here would be the importance of Quran, right? And how sacred is it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how He has chosen it for us. And the action point or practical application of that would be for us to value this book and make it part of our daily life. So one objective for us to do these Quran circles and Quran study is so that you are also empowered and you create this self-habit of reading it daily, and perhaps using some sort of same methodology and questions and reflection points that we use to do that. So every day you wake up or before going to bed, it becomes your habit, and then you maybe read half a page or one page, and you use the same sort of reflection that we do during the session. Does anybody try to do that, by the way?
Yeah, a few times a week I read before going to bed. I have to be more consistent, but yeah, I try as much as I can.
Yeah, and you know what you can do is, like, let's say you're reading and you come across something, and feel free to drop a message on the group, whether text or a voice note. Hey guys, I was reading this verse, and this really clicked with me, and I was thinking about this, and I got this idea from this, or what have you. I think that would be a good thing we can utilize and create some momentum in the group as well. All right, so that's the action point then, of basically giving importance to Quran and making some sort of habit to connect with it and to interact with it. So from verse number 17 onwards, now it talks about so quality of human being, right? So what is that quality? Remember some of the questions we thought about. Think about, what is the verse telling me about Allah, right? What qualities and things that the verse is talking about, are they good qualities or bad qualities? If they're good qualities, then how do I do in terms of those qualities? If they're bad qualities, then do I have that habit? Do I have a part of that habit? How can I totally get rid of that habit? Okay. So in this situation, verse number 17, what is the quality? What is the habit that is being mentioned?
It's talking about gratefulness.
Gratefulness, right? So that's a really, really important point. Like, how can somebody be ungrateful? Let's see if you can give some example.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, like an everyday example?
Yeah, something like an every example of, what are some ways of being ungrateful, or what comes to your mind when you think about being grateful or being ungrateful, right? How can somebody be grateful and how can somebody be ungrateful? Like, you can look at either or side.
I guess like when you're given something, you say thank you and you show like that you really appreciate what you've been given. If you aren't grateful, it's more like you've been given something and you take it and you just throw it on the ground and spit on it. Be like, I don't want that type of thing.
Okay, good. What else?
Yeah, also, whenever we get something, like just even for us having food every day, and we have to thank Allah that we have food to feed us, and we take it for granted, because we have it every day at our disposal. And people like that are not really religious, they're gonna thank other than Allah, but everything comes from Allah. So sometimes the gratefulness is misplaced as well.
Also, it can be just the way you live your life. I mean, you're living your life, in sin or in not doing anything to help other people. It's also showing kind of ungrateful too, right? When you make bad choices every day and don't make good choices.
Good, very good. These are all great points. So just going in reverse orders, like, expanding on what Justin said there, right? Because whatever we have, even if whenever, let's say if you're disobeying Allah or you're committing a sin, you're using what Allah has given you to commit, right? I mean, any sin that you can think about, whether it be like, wasting time, for example, or doing, using your time and your eyes and your hearing or your body for things that Allah has not, allowed. We are using all the things that Allah has gifted us. And, I think what Tristan mentioned about, not respecting and not valuing it. Well, but instead of not even valuing it, what we are doing is we're saying, okay, you have given us this thing and I will use it, in things that you don't like, right? So that's really, we're being unjust and we're being ungrateful. The other thing, what Josh mentioned, or Barry mentioned about being grateful and not taking things for granted, right? I think that is really important, because sometimes we have a worldview and expectations or entitlements. So we think that, hey, I've done X, Y, Z, and I should have A, B, C, D in my life, whether it be wealth, finances, health, relationships. And we may see someone else who we may think has not put in as much effort, and they may have the things that we want. We kind of have that negative feeling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, oh, how come I don't have it, right? And that is something like, an unjust entitlement. How can we expect that, right? Because whatever we have, we can expect to put effort, we can expect to work hard, we can expect to have hard ethics, but the results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, there are for sure people who have worked as hard as us, and they don't have as much funds as us, or not as much status as us, and so on and so forth. So results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they may relate to the efforts, and sometimes they may not, because Allah may give us something or not give us something as a test. And obviously, at the end of the day, like, again, the worst sort of ungratefulness is to actually not even accept Allah, and to just believe that, everything just happened out of randomness, and I not acknowledge that these eyes are from Allah, these hands are from Allah, and say, oh, it's my eyes, I can see whatever I want. I can use my hands to do whatever I want. I can be with whoever I want, right? Just not caring, and just basically using your own system, your own value system to define what we want, whether in our individual lives or families or society, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's really a very deep point, and I think something for us to think about, like, how do I, and I think just being more aware of it, right, from a day-to-day perspective, right? Am I being grateful or ungrateful, from my mindset to my actions? So let's try to be aware of that and mindful of that. Okay, so now the next few verses, Allah will actually show us our state. Okay, and this is basically this really tells about who Allah is, right? So Allah kind of points back to, look at your origin, right? Where are you coming from, right? From a sperm drop, right? And how is that in that root cause, or that initiation is considered from a perspective of, like, being something despicable, right? And how then Allah made the path easy for us. Okay, now someone say, well, what does that mean? He makes the way easy for him, right? He makes the way easy for him. He makes the path easy for him. So this is something, now what we can do is we can go to, let's say, Tafsir Sa'di, like, okay, what does this path mean? So typically, the translation would have it here. We don't see anything. So let's go and see what the scholar, describes. And the way he would do it is, again, by connecting it with other verses and connecting with the hadith, right? Okay, so let's see what he said. Path easy for him. That is, he guides him to what he needs of religious and worldly means, guides him to the right path, makes it clear for him, and tests him with commands and prohibitions. So basically, the knowledge has been given to you, or has been, brought to you, or has been made accessible to you. And also some of the things that, people naturally learn, right? In terms of the systems that we have of, what's beneficial for us, what's harmful for us, attachment with the mother, the food source from the mother, and so on and so forth. So these are, again, it's a reflection of two things. One is the weak state of human being, especially when we were, we were young, right, as an infant, and how dependent we were. And it also shows the power, the design, the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the creator. Okay, and after that, what would happen is, he will make us die, and then we'll be put in grave or buried. right? And then after that, it's not the end, right? These are just transitions of life from one form to the other, from a semen drop to this, to death, to being buried, and then finally being resurrected. So this shows again our state and different states that we kind of move through, and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any thoughts about this, like your own personal reflection on this, guys?
Yeah, one thing about when he says he makes the way easy for him is, when you check in the Quran and Allah speaks about all the messengers that he sent, and the last messenger being Muhammad, peace be upon him. And it's pretty simple, just follow the message, learn from the teachings, and we're not just wandering around like, what are we supposed to do? There's a clear message that we can follow.
Good, mashallah. Anybody else?
Which verse are you talking about specifically? Sorry.
Yeah, so just last few words that we talked about, right, in terms of the human creation, the resurrection, and the death.
Oh, okay.
I think one thing that comes to my mind is, that it's also a reminder of this cycle, right? Because sometimes, from a day-to-day perspective, let's say we wake up, or and we're going to bed, and we're thinking about some things. Those are maybe really important, but they only concern like maybe tomorrow, the next week, the next month, right? Things that are important, but more very short term compared to the grand scheme of things. And I think one thing that Quran can really help us do is to have that stepping back and having this grand view of thinking ahead in the future of death, afterlife, and what have you. And while we may be, focus and thinking about what did I do today for my work, business, relationships, health, or whatever, or entertainment, they say, hey, it kind of helps you think about what am I doing for that connection and deep meaning of life, and doing things that are beneficial in the long term in my personal life, family life, and even the society. Okay. All right. So moving on from verse number 23. Now, so 23 is God is saying about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about a situation that, man in general has been failing to comply with the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And that's the general situation of most people, right? And that's not something that we want to be in, right? So we want to think about our lives and be thinking that, where am I, not complying to the orders of Allah. And those orders, I think, so here's something to think about. By following the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will we become less productive, less rich, unsuccessful, have less impact? Or are they meant to bring out a better version of ourselves, in a personal level as well as at a societal level?
Yeah, it's supposed to help us bring out the best, bring out our potential in all these facets of our life.
Right. Yeah, and I think this is really, really important to think about, because sometimes we may think, oh, you know what? Oh, now I have to take a break for prayers, or I have to take, I have to go for Friday prayers, and sometimes it may seem like that it's taking my attention away from where I was choosing to put in my attention, right? But that's kind of like, okay, well, do we trust our plan or do we trust Allah's plan? Right? And one example that came up is like, sometimes you're working and you would very comfortably say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go and take a quick walk or go grab a coffee. And nobody would say that step or that action is actually making you unproductive, even though you're not focused on that screen or whatever you were doing. But that step of stepping away, taking a walk, taking a coffee is actually going to make you more productive.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. So but that may require discipline, right, at times, because we may not see that connection, and so that may require that discipline and then also trust. Okay, so next verses are actually going to be talking about other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And that helps us again reflect on the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his power and his creation. Because so again, sometimes we just take it for granted, right? We don't, Like we appreciate the phone, we appreciate that, you know, the megapixels and the new camera, or the new technology and the facial recognition and, you know, all the other camera features or even the filters, right? But what about all these things that we may sometimes attribute as nature? This is what Allah has created, right? So Allah is saying, okay, take a look at your food, right? And how Allah created the whole system, right? The whole rainwater system, and then the splitting of the earth, and then, you know, the coming out of the grains, and then the vegetation, the grapes and the green, the olives and the date palms, and the gardens and the with rich trees, right? And all types of fruit and fodder, right? Why? So Allah has created as an enjoyment, as a piece of benefit, as a sustenance, provision for us, as well as for our cattle. So that's something, you know, again, you know, just appreciating that and the details of that and the variety of that and the different tastes and different seasons. And next time we're enjoying a fruit or enjoying a view or a scenery, not just, you know, take of it as nature, but, you know, appreciating the creator, right? And that would help us have better appreciation for Allah and, you know, a better connection with Allah. So I think let's take that as an action point, right? Or maybe does any one of you, like I know Tristan, you went camping, right? So perhaps let's describe anything that kind of really impressed you, and let's take a look at it from the lens of Allah being the creator and designer of that. So tell us, what did you see of Allah's creation this weekend?
Yeah, so this is actually a great thing, because I was actually just thinking about it, like as we were driving and we were just looking out into the fields and seeing the trees and just nature and stuff like that. You could just see like people hadn't been there, you know. And that all I could think about was just like, you don't get this in like the big city. You don't get this when you're surrounded by concrete buildings and everybody's hustling and bustling and focusing on what they're doing. You know, you really kind of feel, or at least I felt like I was closer to Allah, like when I'm out in nature, when I'm seeing his creation like firsthand, you know, not necessarily that everything else isn't created by him, but like purely by him, you know, not the cell phone that was made by in a factory or something like that, you know.
Which we
So
also
kinda,
believe is an indirect creation of Allah.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's really
exactly,
close
yeah,
to it, right? Without any sort of
yeah,
interference. Good.
yeah. It felt really
Anybody
good
else?
actually.
Awesome. Anyone else saw anything interesting, inspiring over the weekend, or otherwise maybe today as well? Who knows? You know, Monday doesn't have to be, you know, blocked out for nature.
No, you're talking about, sorry, just the nature.
Yeah, like from any sort of creation of Allah, right?
I don't know.
Whether it be
I
like
live high up in a building, and I don't know. I always find it interesting to watch when you have the thunderstorms and things like that, right? Just to see those things happening. It's, especially when you're high up, it's pretty crazy to see that stuff.
yeah, that's a very good point, right? I mean, like, yeah, you may just when you know, you're kind of raised up and look at the clouds and you know, lightning and the rain coming from there. Beautiful. Cool. Anything from you, Barry? What would you
Well, it's
admire
funny
today?
about the thunderstorms. It's funny. I saw a video on I think it was Instagram, and it was this little girl, and she saw the lightning, right? And then she heard the thunder, and she got scared, and she went to her dad, you know. And it just reminded me, in the Quran, there's a, I don't remember exactly what it said, but it says that Allah, when, you know, he makes the thunder, you know, just go, it gives hope to certain people and fear like in others. You know, it's just crazy how we're affected by a single event can affect different people, in the sense that it makes us feel like, you know, we're finite, we can be destroyed just like that. But at the same time, when you get thunder and rain, it makes the crops grow, so you know you're gonna have a good season, you know.
Okay, I'm gonna now show something that
Makes
I
sense.
really admire from the creation of Allah. All right. So when I see this cute ball of, you know, floof, I think this is a really cute and admirable thing of like how Allah created it, right? Just